Yeah.
Um, where was I going? I had something else. I was going somewhere with that. Sorry, at the end of the day, sometimes I'm like, okay, I need more coffee or something. Welcome to Talk Tennis. Today's guest is Richard Sperling, who is not only a lifetime tennis player, but the co-founder and executive director of Acing Autism. Welcome, and thank you for joining me.
Nice to be here. Thanks for having us.
Now, I want you to just kind of explain exactly what Acing Autism is, and then maybe we can get into how you started this organization and what need you were working to fill with creating it.
Sure. Well, Acing Autism is a nonprofit organization founded in 2008. Realized that there was a big need to help families and children with autism, and there really weren't a lot of sports-based programs that cater to kids with autism. My background has been tennis pretty much my whole life, so I have a lot of love for tennis, and was able to figure out a way to use tennis to help children with autism, and it all started in Boston in 2008. So I came from sort of the tennis, the tennis part. My ex-wife, she was the autism expert. She does autism research, and so we came together and realized that we could create something. So designed a curriculum, and here we are, with still around and growing and reaching a lot of kids.
And you guys are based in Los Angeles, but you're a nationwide organization, correct?
Yeah, I was living in Boston at the time. I was actually teaching tennis on the Cape, and worked at a country club in Dedham, and then went back to school, got my MBA while I was doing it was an entrepreneurship program at Babson, and went into the program with some ideas and came out with this being sort of the main one that I used. I pitched it in several classes and got a lot of confidence to go forward with it. I shared the idea with some professors and with other students, and came out of that program, after 3.5 years with an idea how to start this and then test it out. And took probably 4 or 5 years of doing this part time. To get to a place where we had raised enough money to really do it full time. And, the mission is meaningful and there's a lot of impact there. So I think, because we're doing something good, tennis communities really embraced the idea. It's powerful, what we've created, and I'm excited for the future as well. So.
Yeah. And I have to ask, did you always kind of have this background of wanting to kind of help out and do nonprofit work? Because being tennis players and working in the tennis industry, like, you can make a nice little living working at a nice country club, but like once you jump into nonprofit, it's not as easy on that end.
You're absolutely right. So I played tennis in college, and obviously, I think most tennis players in college, they're teaching tennis in the summers, and that was my sort of introduction to the working world. I worked at country clubs around Boca Raton and South Florida, which was beautiful country clubs, and then I ended up on Cape Cod in the summer. So I had a really good thing going on, where I was in South Florida for the winters and Cape Cod for the summers, and you meet a lot of really, really interesting people, a lot of wealthy people. You're around, a lot of kids that are spoiled. And, you sort of, you question, I enjoyed the work, but I was ready to do something, different. And that's why I went back to school. But I never left tennis. I was always playing. I still like competing. Now I have 2 boys that I coach, so I'm always going to be around tennis. And if I could do something meaningful with tennis, I think I'm doing what I love. I had other business ideas. I thought maybe I would go into finance. I did a couple of years in finance when I was finished undergrad, but didn't love it. I was ready to do something different, and now I just got off a conference call talking about 401k plans. So So
It's different.
yeah, it's evolved, and you're managing people. So it gets very, very complicated. I think the most enjoyable, powerful piece of facing autism is, when you're on the court with the kids and you meet the families and you meet the volunteers and you see it in action and you see how these kids take to it and how the families appreciate it. That's really impactful.
Yeah, definitely. And hoping this episode goes live in April, and April is Autism Awareness
There you
Month,
go.
correct?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, no.
I wanted to ask if you could educate me a little bit on autism. I'm not well versed in it, so you would be the expert.
I'm not the expert. Maybe a little bit of an expert. More of a tennis expert, but yeah. So I mean, the first child that I ever met with autism wasn't until 2008, when I was testing out this idea of can you teach tennis to a child with autism. And around this time is when autism was coming into the media quite a lot. Rates were rising, and people's news was starting to follow autism a lot. But basically, it's a neurological disorder, so it's affecting the development of kids, young kids, and it impacts verbal, nonverbal communication behaviors. They're repetitive behaviors and restricted interests. So it's really impacting how a child communicates and socializes and self-regulates. And then they call it autism spectrum disorder because every child is different. So there are some that are more impacted and have absolutely, no language, so nonverbal. And then there are some kids that can speak and communicate, but they have, repetitive behaviors such as, arm flapping, I think is probably the most common. And then there's a sensory disorder that's associated with it. So some people won't like the feel of certain materials or textiles, so won't like wearing certain clothes. Mm-hmm. Maybe the texture of a food they won't like. So there are that's it. Basically, it's impacting the social communication with in children and adults. But it's usually diagnosed by, I think the average age when children get diagnosed is around 4. Okay. So usually, I think the early signs of autism are, avoiding eye contact, no big smiles, very early on, and then it leads to sometimes there's a regression in language development. So most children struggle to make friendships, mm-hmm. so they tend to play by themselves. So they have difficulty making friends. So they and also they play with toys in an unusual way sometimes. So okay. Some of the telltale signs, early signs, yeah.
So tell me what these programs, what have you seen tennis be able to do for a kid who might be showing these signs and is diagnosed as an autistic child? How has it transformed them?
Yeah, so I think it's important to understand that when you find out that your child has been diagnosed with autism, immediately, parents are looking for help and services and how they can improve the outcomes, for the kids. And so they're looking for, ABA therapists that help them with behaviors and speech therapists to help them with their language and even social skills training. But there really weren't, when we started this, there was nothing really, there weren't a lot of, opportunities to play. So parents weren't thinking about that part, what am I going to do to allow my child to have fun and play and mm-hmm. meet other kids? When I started this in 2008, we found a few soccer programs. I found swimming was quite a popular one, and horseback riding, some surfing. Couldn't find a tennis program, and the idea is that you're creating a program where kids are working on their fitness, their physical fitness, working on their hand-eye coordination. A lot of kids have low muscle tone. Their hand-eye coordination isn't very good. And then you're also working on that social skills piece where you're having them interact with a volunteer, and then also trying to help two kids, engage with one another.
Mm-hmm.
So you can get all that through a tennis lesson. And most of all, you want to make sure they're having fun. So there's that fun social interaction plus physical fitness, all in one. What studies are starting to show is that the more physical movement and activity you can create, it's actually going to help them not only with physical fitness but also cognitively. That's the goal.
I love that though. I mean, I just say that for my own mental health that like I need to work out or play some tennis or hit the ball really hard to keep the positivity going. So I can see how, just moving around and being active would definitely be a positive impact for these kids. And then something else that I saw on your guys' website, which of course in this episode, we're going to link all of the websites or the website information and donations and all that. But it was pretty powerful to see that you guys really want to provide parents with like an hour of time where they can just chill out also. So maybe you can speak a little bit to that piece, because I think that felt really powerful to me.
The parents are so focused on getting their kids help that they forget about the fun, taking their kids to a soccer practice. Yeah. And here we've created a program where parents that most parents don't play tennis themselves, but they're able to bring their kids to a tennis club, or sometimes we have programs at country clubs, or at college campus or high school, wherever the tennis court may be. But they're bringing their kids somewhere, dropping them off on the court, and they're watching their kids, but also socializing with other parents, meeting other people, and it feels like you're going somewhere and you're doing something that every parent should be doing for their child. There's a sense of community there and belonging, and so they're meeting parents that have children with autism, and they're connecting. So that's something I had never thought of when we were designing this. I was just focused on the curriculum and how we can get kids to focus and learn to play tennis, with the deficits that they have. So that was my focus at the beginning, how to get their attention and keep them on task. That's been a wonderful benefit. And then sometimes you have siblings that come and volunteer at the program, and it's nice for the family. Parents have told me that it's really powerful, that what that 1 hour a week does, it becomes part of their weekly routine. It's really impacting the quality of their lives.
I can only imagine it's just as important for the parents also to, even like you said, they're talking to other parents. They actually probably feel like they can talk about it, or, they have something in common. Whereas like if they were dropping their kids off at a high school, just a regular practice, then maybe they would be really worried about if their kid that has autism could fit in correctly and all that. So that makes tons of sense. Now, something you obviously keep mentioning, volunteers, and you guys are a volunteer-driven organization. So talk to me a little bit about that and who your volunteers are and what they look like and who can help and all the above.
So, program number one in Boston, I was working at a tennis club at the time, so recruited a lot of the juniors that I was coaching. So it was, mostly teenagers, high school students. Some college students would help out. We were recruited mostly tennis players, but obviously, anyone is welcome. Recreational tennis players, college tennis players. That's usually who we try to find first. But obviously, college campuses, we recruit any student that wants to come and help, especially medical students or people studying science. They have an interest in autism, hands-on learning experience, with kids with autism. So obviously, the majority of our volunteers are high school and college students, but recreational tennis players and we have a lot of parents that have started programs as well. So anybody that really wants to help, but
awesome.
I'd say the average age is probably 17 or 18.
Okay, cool.
right
I
now.
love that
Yeah.
though. I mean, my parents raised me to always have, give back to the community. And this is a great way for any tennis player to get involved in such a fun way, I'm sure.
Yeah. And the interesting thing about the volunteers, I mean, we've had volunteers that are as young as 12, 13, 14, and they sometimes have better success, working with students that are, their age,
Hmm.
their peers, and they're modeling things. And, we have them sometimes, just, participate in the program as a volunteer peer. And the impact that has on the child in the program is much more beneficial than what I could do. So it's really powerful to see that when that happens.
Yeah, that's so cool. Now, what does a typical day look like, or do the programs all look the same no matter where you are in the country? Are they all teaching the same thing? Are you all doing the same activities, or what's an hour on the court look like?
Yeah, so yeah, it's very very important that we do have a very structured program. The kids don't do very well transitioning, so we do have a formula that kids become familiar with. Obviously the first class is always the most chaotic, but once they understand the routine, it gets a lot easier. So we use visual schedules on the court. The kids can see the pictures. We try to get them engaged with our visual schedule. We're actually, every year we're trying to improve how we deliver the program. So we're making updates to the visual schedule where we're going to now allow kids to, walk up to the net, pick that visual schedule and flip it over the net. So
Hmm.
working on those things. So it's very structured. Go through everything on our schedule from volleys to ground strokes. Starting off with warm up, and then finishing with games at the end, and we always finish with a cheer. So that schedule, we don't shift from that schedule. Make sure they're moving, getting some exercise, and make sure that the kids are connecting with each other. So we're trying to get giving a lot of high fives, and the nice thing about the program is that you can cater the tennis lesson to every child's ability on the court. So you're not always doing exactly the same skill within each drill, if you know
Hmm.
what I mean.
Yeah,
So
totally. Now, with the autism, is there a way that kids learn better than a different way? Like, I'm not very good with visualization.
yeah,
Like, I need to do it to remember.
yeah.
And also, I'm really bad when someone tells me instructions. So I'm not good at that stuff. But what's the best way to learn if your child has autism?
Yeah, they say the preferred learning style is visually.
Hmm.
So that's why we do have the picture so they can see what we're doing, where we are in the class. But we also do a lot of physical prompting as well to help with the stroke production.
Muscle memory. Yeah.
Yeah, so there's that prompting, setting the racket back for them, and then seeing if they'll copy what we do, what we show them.
And this kind of feels like a dumb question, but do you find that the kids are super engaged and really looking forward to the next time they can be on the court? Or is it kind of sometimes just like, oh, now I got to go to tennis?
I think everybody's different, but I think there are cases where it's difficult to get them on the court,
Hmm.
and get them familiar with the environment and make them feel at ease with the environment that they're in. The sounds and all the things around the court. So that can take time sometimes. But I think the majority of participants that we have really enjoy coming back and look forward to it. I mean, you know when we train our volunteers, we let them know it's very important that you make it fun
Yeah.
and engaging and make the kids feel good about themselves. I would say that the majority do look forward to coming back and are missing the program. So unfortunately, this past year has been very difficult for families, and most of our programs have not run since last March.
Mhm.
So I know there are a lot of families that have struggled a lot this year because they haven't been able to get out and do their regular activities.
Yeah, which brings up something I did want to talk about is you guys have a virtual program, Acing at Home. I think I saw on the website. Talk to me about it.
Yeah, so when everything got shut down last March, we decided, I think a couple of months, probably around May, we decided that we had to produce some videos. So we created a series of very short videos, 5-minute videos that people could do at home. Then during the summer, we created 6 20-minute videos that would replace sort of an in-class, in-person session. So we had a full series of programs that were really produced at a high level. And so the idea was that, you put it on your computer, the child would be at home and they would just copy what they were seeing. And we had some success with that. And then in addition to that, we've also paired up volunteers with students all around the country to do this virtually, do it live. Some kids will need some assistance. Some kids will do it independently. Some kids will do it for 10, 15 minutes. Some kids will do it for 30 minutes. But we've done our best to make that available to all our families. And, I think a lot of families, like I said, a lot of families during the pandemic, especially parents that have kids with autism, have really struggled because they're trying to work from home and then also take care of the kids because, there weren't that many people to come into the homes and help. So, even though we provided this, a lot of people couldn't take advantage of it. So we're slowly starting to come back now.
Okay, good. That was going to be the next question. Hopefully things are starting to open.
So April, you said it. April is Autism Month. So we tomorrow is Autism World Day. So we do have plans right now. So we're slowly bringing our programming back, which means we do have COVID guidelines still in place, which means people have to wear masks and there's social distancing, less people on the court. So we are keeping those guidelines in place. But we are excited, to announce that we have about 16 of our programs that will provide in-person programming in April. And then I think hopefully, over the summer, the more will come back. And then hopefully we're on this trend where things go back to normal.
Yes. Hopefully. Yeah. Let's go. Fingers crossed. We're ready for it. I'm sure everyone listening and everyone that has been involved with the organization is ready to get back on the court too. So,
yeah.
What about some success stories? I'm sure you have had players that probably knew nothing about tennis coming in and then are completely tennis nuts still playing. Do you have any stories of players that you can share?
Yeah. I mean, I think one of my favorite stories is from one of the first kids that I met, in Boston. She was 5 at the time and nonverbal and, very difficult to get her attention. Really didn't understand what tennis was meant to be. And you had to help her hold the racket. You had to help her, stand in the right place. And it took months and years, to teach her, how to hit a tennis ball. And you start with the ball on the tee and then you move to a drop and then gradually, with time. But she's been in the program for 10 years and now she's, rallying from the service line. So that's an unbelievable story. But she's worked hard and, 10 years. So
yeah,
that's really a powerful story. And there's another boy here from Burbank, and we introduced him to tennis. He had never played tennis before, and he was probably about 9 or 10. He completely fell in love with tennis, and he used to go to bed with his racket.
Yes,
drove his parents completely crazy because all he wanted to do was play tennis. So they had to buy a wall for him to use at home. So that's also a nice story. I know it drove parents crazy, but for me, I like that story.
I love that.
He just loved the monotony of hitting a ball and how it felt and loved it. So
yeah, that's cool. And I think for someone like you and I, tennis is such an escape some days for us. So I can only imagine someone that deals with other, mental health issues that having an escape could be so nice.
Yeah.
And I'm sure tennis provides that.
There is that, that rhythm to tennis, and hitting a ball feels good, when you,
yeah,
when it goes where you want it to go.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think there's something about tennis that is attractive, for everyone.
Well, and I guess that's also kind of like a side question is as you've seen these players progress and some really take well to it, do you notice that their personality also changes for the better? Are there things that you've seen them grow as people? And how's that work?
Yeah, good question. So it's really important for us as a nonprofit, to show the impact that we're making, and we are doing our best right now to collect outcomes and show how kids are making gains in the areas of fitness, socially, behaviorally, those three areas, and we are working right now with UCLA to measure those things. And we recently sent a survey to our program directors, and 50 of them responded, and we across the board, we saw tennis skills had improved. I think 75% of the program directors said there was improvement there. Motor skills, like 90%,
wow,
had said there was improvement there. And then social skills, they're noticing social skills are improving.
Nice.
70%. So, and even the repetitive behaviors and the mood, there's improvement. Not as high. I think it was 60%, but you can see across the board that there is improvement there. So we want to try. As soon as the pandemic ends, we're going to set up a program at UCLA and put a study together, more qualitative study to show these improvements.
That's awesome to hear. Let's say someone is listening and they really want to get involved, but they might be slightly intimidated about interacting with kids with autism. What is something that you can share about interacting with others that do have autism that, might be helpful?
Well, I think if anybody wants to get involved, we do train our volunteers. We have a volunteer manual. We have someone from Acing Autism that will go out and train volunteers to show you how we work with the kids. But usually, when you meet a child with autism for the first time, obviously their parents will be there, and you can obviously ask them questions. But within the first 30 seconds, you'll understand their receptive language skills and their verbal language skills. And if a child is very young, so we allow children as young as 5 into our program. If they're very young, we'll usually have 2 volunteers working with that child, and they stay with that child throughout the session. So I think everybody feels more comfortable, working with them. And if they need that visual support, we have the visual support. I think it's a gradual learning process for both the child and the volunteer, to get to know each other. But we try to help them in terms of, understanding that usually, children have an interest, try to get to know them, find out what their hobbies are, use that within the clinic to motivate the child. For example, you might have a boy who knows everything about insects or trains, and they just want to give you facts all the time. So you can say, all right, you're going to hit 10 balls, and then you can give me that, fact. So,
that's awesome. Yeah. And I'm sure they're probably just as, nervous sometimes as the volunteers maybe on their first day. So yeah, it will be fun for everyone.
No, there's a lot of anxiety at the beginning, but if a parent needs to walk onto the court with their child for the first clinic, we let them do that. But I'd say 1 out of 10 is probably really nervous about coming out into the court. Sometimes you have to ask the parents to go away because they're distracting. Yeah.
That's what I was going to say too, though. And if there's a parent listening with an autistic child and maybe they're slightly intimidated, they probably wouldn't be listening if they're not tennis fans. But if there was a parent that, had no idea about tennis and they were slightly intimidated, how easy is it? I mean, explain to them how it's not.
Yeah, well, I think that's really important. I think a lot of parents that we meet really underestimate what their child can do, or underestimate what they're able to do. And I think, you just have to, cut the cord and let them go. And but I'm saying with tennis skills, even with a 5-year-old, you can show them tennis skills and work on some hand-eye and racket skills. And if you need to be if you need to physically help the child hold the racket, or if they can do it with two hands, there's ways to adapt how you're teaching to a child, a 5-year-old with autism.
Totally.
And that's what I think I like so much about it, is that every step that we have, there are drills that you can do, and then you can make them easier or more difficult based on you want to make sure that they have success, but also challenge them. So I think you can do that with tennis.
Yeah, no, for sure. Any player. Talk to me about the importance of donations for your program and all of that.
Donations. So, I mean, we obviously, as we're a nonprofit. So, I should probably first tell you about our plans.
Yes, I would love to.
They're obviously supporting, program growth. I mean, that's where we are headed. We've got about 82, 83 programs in 30 states right now. And our priorities are to reach more families. We reach about 1,000 families right now, or before the pandemic. On average, we have about 15 children per site. Okay. So we are really planning to grow aggressively over the next 3 years and double that. Our goal is to get to about 200 program locations over the next 3 years.
That's amazing.
And obviously need funds to do that. So, we do fundraisers here in LA. We do a gala every year here, and then we do small. In April we do these racket runs at each site. So variations where you're holding a racket and you're doing a community run. And then throughout the year we do small, sometimes small fundraisers at launches. And obviously we have a donate button on our website. So people are welcome to come and see our mission and see our work and follow us and support us. Yeah.
Yeah. Your website is insanely informative. There is so much information. Yeah. I kept clicking around and here. And it's awesome. And we will for sure link to everything. But that's what I was going to say, is even on the donation page, it says just $20 sponsors an hour of tennis. That's crazy when you think about, the pricing that some people pay for an hour lesson. So a little goes a long way for your program, I'm sure. So, and
we do provide scholarships, to families that can't afford our program. So we obviously wanted to charge a nominal fee, to help support the program expenses. We think that that's a reasonable amount. I mean, that we know that, here in LA, 1 hour lesson is a little bit crazy. But,
yeah, it's a lot crazy. So just think, next time you're paying for that hour tennis lesson for yourself, think how much how many lessons it could provide for a child with autism. That's cool. Yeah. But do you ever get emails, or do you guys get contacted ever from a parent who doesn't have this program locally for them and requesting a program to begin?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that question, because a lot of our programs will start because somebody hears about us on a podcast.
Yeah.
It could be a tennis pro that has a child with autism and says, "Oh, I want this at my club," or "I want this in my community," and they'll start the program. Or it'll be a parent that plays tennis and brings this to their community. That certainly happens frequently. I think because I'm so involved in the tennis industry, I think a lot of our growth has come from that. But we set up a lot of programs, at high schools, where high school students will run our program. Obviously, that volunteer piece is essential. So we, being at a high school makes a lot of sense, and being on a college campus makes a lot of sense as well.
Yeah.
We're always interested to hear from people that have, passion for tennis and autism, and want to get involved in our mission. And then if I can add to that, we more recently, we're trying to get into schools now. So bring tennis into schools where the students are, and we're starting to work on that. So, which will enable us to, I think, reach more children at each site and have them play more frequently. So that's a very interesting model as well. Slightly different, but we're working on that as well. You like that one?
I like that one. I'm like, I know. No, so I have a problem. But every time I do a chat like this, like anytime I do one of my nonprofit chats, I'm like, okay, sign me up. Let's go. I'm going, like, I've committed myself to all these programs. And even to be completely honest, you might be aware of the program. Pete Brown Junior Tennis Program was the first nonprofit chat I had on the podcast. And that was 2 years ago. And I went down for their holiday celebration 2 years ago. And last year, it was so sad for me not to be able to, well, they still did a drive-by one, but it was not, it wasn't on a tennis court because of COVID and everything else. And I'm like, dang, I can't, this coming Christmas, like I'm there, like it's happening. But yeah, even just chatting, I'm like, oh, this would be so cool. San Luis Obispo is a small town, but there are parents and kids with autism that would totally benefit from this. So it's just like, it gets my wheels turning.
Yeah. Well, we'll sign you up as a program director.
Yeah, perfect. I need more things on my plate. I like to be busy. It sounds like such an amazing program. And yeah, I'm super glad that you got to share all of this information with us. So my audience can be educated and I'm more educated. Sometimes I feel like there's a little bit of a stigma around autism, and I don't always feel comfortable talking about it because I don't know that much. So I just hope that I didn't say anything incorrect or anything. Yeah.
No, I'm excited to be here. Love sharing the story, and I want to thank Tennis Warehouse for hosting us. And
of course,
yeah. Next time you're in LA, we'll have to show you a program.
I would love that.
And the next time we have a gala, we will invite you to come.
See, now my wheels are turning even more because my sister lives in Ventura and I have a friend down there that teaches tennis. Like we've got this covered. You might already have programs down there. But
actually, we have a lot in LA, but Ventura, no. So we I think we have Mountain Gate, UCLA, obviously, and then we might have something around maybe at Braemar, but nothing further out towards Ventura. Yeah. Ventura would be good. Ojai is nice too.
All right. So that's
Santa Barbara, we do that. So.
Okay. I went to the Weil Academy, so I got a connection at Ojai. Wow. We get Mark Weil. I'm volunteering.
I went there last summer for the first time. My son did a week there. So enjoyed it.
Nice. Yeah, it's a great little town. It's changed a lot since I've been there, and I'm actually from Manhattan Beach, so I've got some LA connections as well.
We should take this offline.
we'll connect. Yeah. Okay. So, what brands have been important that you've paired with that keep the program going?
Yeah, luckily we've partnered with Headpen. They provide tennis equipment to our program, so big thank you to Headpen. Tennis Channel, being here in Santa Monica, has done a lot for us over the years. So I'd like to say thank you to Tennis Channel. And Tennis Warehouse recently donated a lot of rackets. Some used adult rackets. So we'll be gifting those to some of our players.
Yeah, keep letting us know how we can be a good partner for you guys. Definitely. I know this company, we're not as loud about it, but one of our owners is just an absolute amazing, generous person and loves helping out in the tennis community. So
we'd love to hear that.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much.
Of course. Thanks for joining. And last question, of course, where can people either check out your website or follow you socially? Where can people check out Acing Autism?
We do have a really nice website, acingautism.org, and that's ACEING. We're on Instagram. I know we're very active on Instagram. We're active on Twitter. So those three are probably the where you can find, what we're up to.
Perfect. We will link them all in the show notes so people can just click and go donate, go check it out, go follow on Instagram and get as involved as they want to. So thank you again so much for joining me. This is such a fun and informative conversation.
Thank you very much for having me and enjoyed it. Thank you. Very nice to meet you.
Yeah, you as well.